In the world of Persona, a select few individuals possess the power to break free from the chains that bind them and summon what is known as a persona. Even fewer have the ability known as the wild card, allowing them to wield multiple personas at once. Welcome to the Persona Compendium, where we're going to cover the history and symbolism of some of the franchise's most notable shadows, demons, and personas. Today, we're going to have a look at the first persona that we get to use in Persona 5, the Gentleman Thief, Arsene. For those unfamiliar, Arsene is Joker's first persona. He appears before the player in the first palace, offering you a contract. Upon accepting this contract, Arsene manifests into a winged creature adorned with an 18th century outfit and a face suited for a demon. But what is Arsene based on? Why the name Arsene? To answer that, we need to go back to July of 1905 and take a look at a short story published in a French magazine. The Arrest of Arsène Lupin by Maurice Leblanc was the first work published to include the Gentleman Thief, and it establishes his character as a sort of trickster, akin to Robin Hood. Now, this character is also said to be directly inspired by the French anarchist Marius Jacob, who was a clever burglar and a social anarchist alive from 1879 to 1954. Jacob had a strong sense of morality and would only steal from those he deemed as social parasites. In today's context, we could interpret this as the 1%, or in the language of the Persona games, those with rotten, distorted desires. Now, Leblanc's Arsène Lupin similarly does right by the masses at the expense of those he deems to be worse criminals than himself. This right here is an obvious parallel to the social parasites targeted by Jacob. Like the characters and historical figures that inspired him, Arsene is known to be a morally just character that operates on the wrong side of the law, thus categorizing him as somewhat of an anti-hero. As a character, Arsene is used in many short stories, plays, and even some comics, but over his myriad appearances, one thing stays constant, which is his attitude and morality. Arsene has always been a force for good. While his actions put him on the wrong side of the law, they're ultimately for the benefit of the people. This trend of a hero working outside of the law to accomplish things the police or government couldn't is an extremely popular trope today. And this theme holds strong ties to Persona in general, but more precisely to Joker. But before we get into how he symbolizes the core themes of our protagonist, let's take a look at his design. Arsene is a large demonic figure dressed in red and black, often accompanied by blue flames that sprout out around him as he manifests. He sports a short red coat with jagged edges and a popped collar over a black corset with red accents. Beneath the corset, we see long red boots that extend all the way up to his waist, complete with sharp sword-like heels. Lastly, and perhaps his two most notable traits, are his exaggerated top hat and his jet black feathered wings. This design conveys the message that Arsene is a gentlemanly demon. He's no angel, nor is he free from sin, but rather, he is clearly meant to inspire the imagery of hell and demons with his grim appearance. But all of that is wrapped in a stylish and classy outfit that communicates his true intentions. While he's no saint, Arsene exists as a means of rebellion against a corrupt system, and his wings are a direct reference to the wings of freedom that the game mentions whenever you open a new contract with a confidant. Speaking on Arsene's wings, character designer Shigenori Sojima says that they were designed to evoke the image of a thief's cape, insinuating that a thief can go anywhere, which once again plays into the wings of rebellion that I mentioned before. As an extension of his demonic form, we can look at Arsene's abilities as a persona. He specializes in curse and physical attacks, making him a unique persona early on, as most early game personas deal in more standard elements, such as fire, ice, wind, and so on. Arsene is also special as he's one of the only personas of the main cast to feature two weaknesses. Since you as the main character possess the wild card, Arsene was never intended to accompany you through to the end of your journey, but rather he's meant to be used and then fused into something more powerful. We see this intention confirmed even further by the fact that he's one of the only personas who has special dialogue when being used for fusion on the first time. Upon fusing Arsene into something more powerful, he leaves the player with the parting words, "I am Arsene, the other you who exists within. Though I may disappear this moment, I shall always be at your side. We shall meet again, when your fate reaches its conclusion." Letting the player know that while he may be gone from your immediate collection of personas, he lives on in Joker as the true representation of his will and rebellion. By that token, it seems that Arsene never truly leaves us, In fact, we see him reappear in critical moments of the game, like in Sai's Palace, and in the boss fight against Yaldabaoth just before Joker unlocks the final evolution of Arsene, Satanael. When we consider the historical inspiration for this persona, along with his design and the many special traits that come with Arsene that are absolutely overflowing with thematic relevance, we can begin to see how Arsene is a thematic extension of Joker's will, as you would expect from a persona. Joker, like Arsene Lupin, the literary character, is a trickster and a thief. He steals the hearts and evil desires of criminals who can't be otherwise stopped. While what he does is technically illegal and wrong in the eyes of the law, he does it for the good of the people. Immediately we can see these parallels of an anti-hero being drawn between Arsene Lupin and Joker. Furthering this, we know that Joker has a strong personal grudge against the justice system due to his mistreatment by it. Because of this, it stands to reason that his persona would be a reflection of this anger. From that very anger and strong-willed desire to make a difference, Arsene is born in a violent eruption of blood and flames. It is at this moment that Joker solidifies his resolve to change Kamoshida's heart and ultimately begin down the path as the leader of the Phantom Thieves. In this sense, Arsene can also be seen as a representation of Persona 5's key themes and tenets. At its core, Persona 5 is a rejection of powers that be, and all the bastardized ideals and values that come with them. Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royale challenge the notion that things should be left the way they are, and instead postulates that through rebellion, those who abuse their power should be ousted and punished for their immoral desires. This is exactly what Arsene is all about, and this theme permeates his entire existence. From his rebellious design to his literary inspiration, all the way down to the historical basis of that literary character, we see a common theme of revolution and rejection of the powers that be. While this persona may not be as radical as its historical counterpart, Marius Jacob, his spirit lives on in Arsene and trickles down to not just Joker, but all of the Phantom Thieves. Everything about Arsene is representative of Persona 5 on a macro scale and the protagonist on a micro scale. Such strong theming is very rarely seen in the personas from these games, which is why I really wanted to start with Arsene. The more I read about his inspiration, the more sense he made as a representative of the game. Recently, Arsene has seen a lot of love from his appearance in games like Smash Bros. And Persona 5 Strikers. And while at first it may seem like he was just chosen because he's Joker's default persona, and while that might partially be the case, when we look more into his history and his creation, we can see that this is one of the most deeply layered symbols in Persona 5, and I can't think of a better persona more fit to represent what this game is all about. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you made it this far, then you probably liked what I had to say. If that's the case, be sure to leave me a like so I know I'm doing something right. And let me know in the comments what personas you guys want to see me cover next time. Also, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an upload. And feel free to hit me up on Twitter or Instagram with your comments and suggestions. Links to those will be below. But with all that YouTube stuff out of the way, I just want to say thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.